The champagne glass slipped from Elena's fingers, crashing against the marble floor of the grand ballroom. The sound echoed through the suddenly silent room as 300 of the city's most powerful people turned to stare. But Elena barely noticed the mess at her feet or the shocked faces around her. All she could see was her sister Sophia, the woman everyone called the most beautiful in the city, standing frozen on the dance floor with tears streaming down her perfect face. Cameron Wells, the billionaire tech mogul who had built an empire before his 30th birthday, had just done the unthinkable. He had rejected Sophia Chin in front of everyone who mattered in their social circle. "I'm sorry but no," Cameron had said, his voice carrying clearly across the ballroom when Sophia had asked him to dance. "I'm not interested." Elena felt her heart break for her sister, even as confusion swirled in her mind. This wasn't how things were supposed to go. Sophia was the one men fought over. Sophia was the one who graced magazine covers and turned heads wherever she went. Sophia was everything Elena was not. The charity gala continued around them, but the damage was done. Whispers filled the air like poison, and Elena watched as Sophia lifted her chin with dignity and walked toward the ladies' room. Elena wanted to follow her, to comfort her, but her feet wouldn't move. "Quite a scene," someone said behind her. Elena turned to find Cameron Wells standing there, looking completely unbothered by what had just happened. Up close, he was even more striking than his photos suggested. Tall and lean, with dark hair and eyes that seemed to see too much. But there was something else about him, something that made Elena's stomach flutter in a way she didn't understand. "Why did you do that?" Elena asked, surprised by her own boldness. Cameron studied her face for a long moment. "Because I don't like games," he said simply. "And your sister has been playing them all evening." Elena frowned. "I don't understand." "She's been putting on a show, trying to get my attention. The way she laughs too loudly at jokes that aren't funny. The way she keeps touching my arm and batting her eyelashes. It's all performance." "Maybe she really likes you," Elena said, defending her sister despite her confusion. Cameron shook his head. "She likes the idea of me. The money, the status, the challenge of landing the guy everyone says can't be caught. But she doesn't know the first thing about who I really am." Elena looked toward the ladies' room where Sophia had disappeared. "You could have rejected her privately. You didn't have to embarrass her in front of everyone." "You're right," Cameron said, and Elena was surprised by the regret in his voice. "That was cruel. I should have handled it better." They stood in awkward silence for a moment, the sounds of the gala continuing around them. Elena bent to pick up the larger pieces of her broken champagne glass, but Cameron caught her arm gently. "Leave it," he said. "The staff will clean it up." His touch sent electricity through Elena's skin, and she pulled back quickly. "I should go check on Sophia." "In a minute," Cameron said. "I have a question for you first." Elena waited, her heart beating faster than it should. "Would you like to dance?" Elena stared at him, certain she had misheard. "What?" "I asked if you'd like to dance with me." Why would you want to dance with me?" The question slipped out before Elena could stop it, revealing too much about how she saw herself. Cameron's expression softened. "Because you're the only person who's been genuine with me all evening. Because you stood up for your sister even after what just happened. And because I noticed you the moment I walked into this room." Elena felt heat rise in her cheeks. "You're lying." "I never lie about things that matter." Elena looked around the ballroom. People were still watching them, still whispering. If she danced with Cameron now, it would cause another scene. It would hurt Sophia even more. "I can't," she said. "It wouldn't be right." Cameron nodded, but he didn't look surprised. "I understand. But Elena?" She was startled that he knew her name. "Yes. This conversation isn't over." He walked away then, leaving Elena standing among the pieces of broken glass, her world tilted off its axis. She had lived 26 years in her sister's shadow, watching from the sidelines as Sophia collected hearts like trophies. And now the one man who had rejected Sophia wanted to dance with her instead. Elena made her way to the ladies' room, her mind spinning. She found Sophia touching up her makeup with shaking hands. "Are you okay?" Elena asked softly. Sophia met her eyes in the mirror. "Did he say anything to you?" Elena hesitated. She should tell Sophia about Cameron's invitation. They had always shared everything. But something held her back. "He said he was sorry for embarrassing you." It wasn't exactly a lie, but it wasn't the whole truth either. Sophia seemed to accept it, though Elena noticed how her sister's eyes lingered on her face, as if searching for something hidden. "I don't understand what happened," Sophia said. "Everything was going perfectly." He seemed interested. Elena didn't know what to say. She had watched the same interactions Sophia had, but through Cameron's words she was starting to see them differently. Maybe he's just not ready for a relationship, Elena offered. Sophia laughed, but there was no humor in it. Men like Cameron Wells are always ready for the right woman. I just wasn't right enough. They returned to the gala together, but Elena couldn't concentrate on anything. She kept catching glimpses of Cameron across the room, and every time their eyes met, she felt that same flutter in her stomach. Tale 2 trash. The evening ended without any more drama, but as Elena rode home in the back of their family's car, she couldn't shake the feeling that something fundamental had changed. Sophia sat beside her in silence, staring out the window at the city lights. He asked me to dance, Elena said suddenly. Sophia turned to look at her. What? After you went to the ladies' room. Cameron asked me to dance. Elena watched emotions flicker across her sister's face, surprise, hurt, and something else Elena couldn't identify. What did you say? Sophia asked quietly. I said no. Sophia was quiet for a long moment. Then she reached over and took Elena's hand. Thank you, she said. But as Elena looked at her sister's profile in the passing streetlights, she wondered if she had made the right choice. And more importantly, she wondered what would have happened if she had said yes. Elena spent the next 3 days trying to forget about Cameron Wells and that moment on the dance floor. She threw herself into her work at the nonprofit where she managed community outreach programs, staying late and taking on extra projects. But every time she closed her eyes, she saw his face and heard his voice asking her to dance. On Thursday morning, a delivery arrived at her office. Elena signed for the package, expecting it to be files from one of their partner organizations. Instead, she found a book inside, a first edition copy of Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. The note inside was written in careful handwriting. I noticed you reading this at the coffee shop on 5th Street last week. I thought you might enjoy having your own copy. C.W. Elena's hands trembled as she held the book. He had noticed her reading at the coffee shop? She tried to remember being there, tried to picture Cameron, but came up empty. How had she missed seeing him? Her assistant knocked on the door. Elena? There's someone here to see you. Elena quickly slipped the book into her desk drawer. Who is it? Cameron Wells. Elena's heart stopped. What? The billionaire guy. He's in the lobby asking for you. Elena stood up too quickly, knocking over her coffee mug. The hot liquid spread across her desk, soaking into papers and reports. Tell him I'm not available, she said, grabbing tissues to clean up the mess. I already told him you were here, her assistant said apologetically. He said he'd wait. Elena closed her eyes and took a deep breath. She couldn't hide in her office forever, and part of her didn't want to. Against her better judgment, she was curious about why he was there. Send him up, she said. 5 minutes later, Cameron Wells was standing in her small, cluttered office, looking completely out of place in his expensive suit. Elena's office was filled with community program flyers, photos of the kids they helped, and stacks of grant applications. It was the opposite of the sleek, modern spaces Cameron was probably used to. Thank you for the book, Elena said, gesturing for him to sit in the chair across from her desk. You read Hurston, Cameron said, settling into the chair. Most people haven't even heard of her. She's one of my favorites. But that book must have cost a fortune. Cameron shrugged. Money isn't the point. I wanted you to have something that mattered to you. Elena studied his face, looking for signs of the game playing he had accused Sophia of. But his expression was open, honest. Why are you here, Cameron? Because you wouldn't dance with me at the gala, and I can't stop thinking about it. Elena felt heat rise in her cheeks. You barely know me. That's the problem. I want to know you better. Elena stood up and walked to the window, putting distance between them. I can't do this. Why not? Because of Sophia. Because you rejected her in front of everyone, and now you're here asking me out. Do you have any idea how that looks? Cameron was quiet for a moment. When Elena turned around, she found him watching her with an intensity that made her breath catch. I'm not asking you out because I rejected your sister, he said carefully. I rejected your sister because I was interested in you. Elena felt the room spin slightly. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to you because you don't see yourself clearly. What's that supposed to mean? Cameron stood up and moved closer to her, but not close enough to make her uncomfortable. It means that while everyone at that gala was looking at Sophia, I was looking at you. I watched you help the elderly woman who dropped her purse. I saw you talking to the wait staff like they were people instead of furniture. I noticed how you really listened when people spoke to you, not just waited for your turn to talk. Elena wrapped her arms around herself. You're making this up. Am I? You were wearing a navy blue dress with small silver buttons. You had your hair pulled back, but a few pieces kept falling into your face and you kept tucking them behind your ear. You were drinking white wine, but you barely touched it because you don't really like alcohol. Elena stared at him, shocked by the accuracy of his observations. How do you know I don't like alcohol? Because you held the glass the same way all evening and the level never went down. And because when the waiter offered you champagne later, you asked for water instead. Elena sank back into her chair. I don't understand any of this. Cameron sat back down too, leaning forward with his elbows on his knees. Elena, can I tell you something about myself? She nodded. I grew up poor. Really poor. My mother worked 3 jobs just to keep us in our 1-bedroom apartment. I know what it's like to be invisible, to have people look right through you like you don't matter. Elena felt something shift in her chest. This wasn't the story she expected from a billionaire. When I made my money, suddenly everyone wanted to be my friend. Beautiful women threw themselves at me, but I could see right through them. They wanted Cameron Wells the billionaire, not Cameron Wells the person. And you think Sophia is like that? I know she is. She spent the entire evening telling me about her modeling career, her social media following, the celebrities she's dated. She never asked me a single question about myself that wasn't related to my money or my business. Elena knew this was true, though it hurt to admit it. Sophia had always been focused on image, on being seen with the right people. But that's not who you are, Cameron continued. You work at a nonprofit helping kids. You read literature that matters. You treat everyone with kindness, regardless of their status. You're real, Elena. And I haven't met anyone real in a very long time. Elena felt tears prick her eyes. No one had ever seen her the way Cameron was describing. I still can't, she whispered. Because of Sophia? Elena nodded. Cameron was quiet for a long moment. Then he reached into his jacket and pulled out a business card. This has my personal number on it, he said, placing it on her desk. I'm not going to pressure you or show up at your office again uninvited. But Elena, I want you to know that I see you. Really see you. And when you're ready to let someone see you back, I hope you'll call me. He stood to leave but paused at the door. And Elena? Your sister will be fine. Women like Sophia always land on their feet. But women like you deserve someone who chooses you first, not as a consolation prize. After he left, Elena sat in her office for a long time, staring at the business card. Her phone buzzed with a text from Sophia. Lunch today? I have news. Elena slipped the business card into her purse and tried to push Cameron Wells out of her mind. But as she walked to meet her sister, she couldn't shake the feeling that her quiet, predictable life was about to change forever. At the restaurant, Sophia was already waiting, looking as stunning as always in a designer outfit that probably cost more than Elena made in a month. You look happy, Elena said, sliding into the booth across from her. I am, Sophia said, her eyes bright with excitement. I've been thinking about what happened at the gala, and I realize it was actually a blessing in disguise. Elena felt a knot form in her stomach. How so? Well, Cameron Wells obviously has terrible judgment if he can't see what's right in front of him. And there are plenty of other successful men in this city who would appreciate what I have to offer. Elena nodded, but she felt like she was listening to her sister from underwater. Actually, Sophia continued, I have a date tonight with Jonathan Reed. You know, the real estate developer? He's almost as rich as Cameron and much better looking. That's great, Elena said, but the words felt hollow. Sophia studied her sister's face. Are you okay? You seem distracted. Elena forced a smile. Just tired. Work has been busy. But as lunch continued, Elena found herself thinking about Cameron's words. About being chosen first instead of being a consolation prize. About being seen for who she really was. For the first time in her life, Elena began to wonder what it would feel like to step out of her sister's shadow and into the light. Elena couldn't concentrate on anything for the rest of the week. Cameron's business card felt like it was burning a hole in her purse, and every time she looked at her phone, she imagined calling him. But then she would think about Sophia, and the guilt would wash over her again. On Saturday morning, Elena was at the farmer's market buying vegetables for the community center when she saw him. Cameron was standing at the coffee vendor, wearing jeans and a simple t-shirt, looking nothing like the polished businessman from the gala. He seemed relaxed, normal, and Elena found herself staring. Elena? She turned to find him walking toward her, a smile spreading across his face. I didn't expect to see you here, she said, suddenly aware that she was wearing old jeans and no makeup. I come here every Saturday morning, Cameron said. Best coffee in the city, and I like supporting local businesses. Elena looked around at the modest market stalls, then back at Cameron. Don't you have people who can do your shopping for you? Cameron laughed. I could, but then I'd miss moments like this. They walked together through the market, and Elena was surprised by how easy it felt. Cameron bought vegetables from the same vendors Elena used, chatting with them like old friends. At the flower stand, he insisted on buying Elena a small bouquet of sunflowers. You don't have to do that, Elena protested. I want to, Cameron said simply. They match your personality. Sunflowers match my personality? Bright, warm, and they make everything around them better. Elena felt her cheeks heat up. You don't know me well enough to say that. Then let me get to know you better. They found a bench in the small park next to the market and sat down together. Elena held the sunflowers in her lap, breathing in their fresh scent. Tell me about growing up poor, Elena said. That's not something most billionaires talk about. Cameron was quiet for a moment, and Elena worried she had pushed too hard. But then he began to speak. My mom was 16 when she had me. My father took off the minute he found out she was pregnant. We lived in this tiny apartment above a laundromat, and I used to fall asleep to the sound of the washing machines. Elena listened without interrupting, watching the emotions play across his face. My mom worked as a waitress during the day and cleaned office buildings at night. I barely saw her, but she was doing everything she could to take care of us. When I was 8, she got sick. Really sick. And we couldn't afford the treatment she needed. What happened? Elena asked softly. She died when I was 10. I went into foster care after that. Elena felt tears prick her eyes. I'm so sorry. Cameron turned to look at her. The thing about being poor, really poor, is that you become invisible. People look right through you because acknowledging you would mean acknowledging that the system is broken. That there are kids going to bed hungry in a country where people throw away more food than some families see in a week. Is that why you started your company? Partly. I was always good with computers and I saw how technology could be used to solve problems. But mostly, I wanted to make enough money so that I'd never have to be invisible again. Elena understood that feeling more than she wanted to admit. She had been invisible her whole life, just in a different way. What about you? Cameron asked. What's your story? Elena laughed, but there was no humor in it. My story is boring compared to yours. I doubt that. Elena looked down at the sunflowers in her lap. I've lived in Sophia's shadow my whole life. She's older by 3 years and she was always the pretty one, the popular one, the one who got attention. My parents loved me, but Sophia was their star. Still is. That must have been hard. It was normal. I learned early that I wasn't the daughter who would make them proud by being beautiful or famous. So I tried to make them proud in other ways. Good grades, volunteering, helping others. But it never felt like enough. Cameron reached over and gently took her hand. Elena, look at me. She met his eyes, and the intensity there made her breath catch. You are enough. You've always been enough. The problem isn't with you, it's with everyone else who was too blind to see what was right in front of them. Elena felt tears threatening again. You don't understand. Sophia isn't just beautiful. She's successful too. She has her own business, she's been in magazines, she dates celebrities. And I work at a non-profit and live in a studio apartment. And you're happy with your work? Elena thought about the kids she helped, the families she worked with, the difference she made in her community. Yes. And Sophia? Is she happy? Elena opened her mouth to say yes automatically, but stopped. When she really thought about it, Sophia seemed to be constantly searching for something. Always looking for the next man, the next opportunity, the next thing that would make her feel complete. I don't know, Elena admitted. I do, Cameron said. I've known women like your sister my whole adult life. They're never happy because their worth is based on external things, how they look, who they're with, how much attention they get. But your worth comes from within. From what you give to the world, not what you take from it. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching families walk through the market. Elena felt something shifting inside her, like a door that had been locked for years was finally opening. Cameron, she said finally. Why me? Really? He was quiet for so long that Elena thought he might not answer. When he spoke, his voice was softer than she had ever heard it. Because when I look at you, I see home. I see peace. I see someone who could love me for who I am, not what I have. And I haven't felt that way about anyone in my entire life. Elena's heart raced. This felt too big, too fast, too intense. I need time, she whispered. I know, Cameron said. And I'm willing to wait. He walked her back to her car, and before she got in, he turned to her one more time. Elena, Can I ask you something? She nodded. When was the last time someone chose you first? The question hit Elena like a physical blow. She stood there, thinking, searching her memory, and came up empty. Even her parents had always put Sophia's needs first. Her few boyfriends had always seemed to be settling for her when they couldn't have someone better. I can't remember, she admitted. Cameron stepped closer, close enough that she could smell his cologne. Then let me be the first. As Elena drove home, Cameron's words echoed in her mind. The sunflowers sat on her passenger seat, bright and cheerful, and for the first time in her life, Elena began to imagine what it might feel like to be someone's first choice. But first she had to figure out how to choose herself. 3 weeks passed before Elena found the courage to text Cameron. She stared at his business card for an hour before finally typing, "Would you like to have coffee sometime?" His response came within minutes, "Yes." When? They met at a small cafe near Elena's apartment, far from the trendy spots where they might run into Sophia or her friends. Cameron arrived first and was reading a book when Elena walked in. She was surprised to see it was the same Zora Neale Hurston novel he had given her. "Research?" Elena asked, sliding into the seat across from him. Cameron smiled. "I wanted to understand what you love about her writing." Elena felt her heart flutter. No one had ever cared enough about her interests to do their own research. "And what do you think?" "I think she writes about finding your own voice in a world that wants to keep you quiet." "I can see why that would speak to you." Elena stared at him, amazed by his insight. "That's exactly why I love her work." They talked for 2 hours and Elena was surprised by how easy it was. Cameron listened to her stories about the kids at the community center, and she found herself laughing at his tales of awkward business meetings and celebrity encounters that had gone wrong. "You're not what I expected," Elena said as they walked out together. "What did you expect?" "Someone more intense, I guess. More focused on business and money." Cameron stopped walking and turned to face her. "Elena, I've spent the last 15 years building my company. I've worked 18-hour days, made deals worth millions of dollars, and traveled to every continent. But in all that time, I never felt like I was building toward something real. Until now." "What's different now?" "You," he said simply. "You make me want to build a life, not just a career." Elena felt her breath catch. "Cameron." "I know it's fast," he said quickly. "I know this is overwhelming. But I also know that I've never felt about anyone the way I feel about you." Elena looked down at her hands. "I'm scared." "Of what?" "Of this being too good to be true. Of you changing your mind when you really get to know me. Of Sophia hating me forever." Cameron gently lifted her chin so she was looking at him. "Elena, I've already gotten to know you. I know you volunteer every Saturday morning at the food bank. I know you cry during sad movies but try to hide it. I know you put extra money in parking meters that are about to expire so strangers don't get tickets. I know you're kind and generous and smart and beautiful, and I know that I want to spend every day learning more about you. How do you know all of that?" Cameron's cheeks reddened slightly. "I may have been paying attention to you longer than I admitted." Elena felt a mix of warmth and worry. "How long?" "Remember the charity fundraiser at the Children's Hospital 6 months ago?" Elena's eyes widened. "You were there? You gave a speech about the importance of arts programs for kids. You were so passionate, so genuine. And afterward, you spent 2 hours sitting on the floor with the kids just talking to them. That's when I knew I wanted to meet you." Elena felt overwhelmed by the realization that Cameron had been noticing her long before the gala. "Why didn't you introduce yourself then?" "Because you were with someone." Elena frowned, trying to remember. "I was with Sophia. She was my date because I didn't want to go alone. I saw you with a beautiful woman and assumed she was your partner. It wasn't until the gala that I realized she was your sister." Elena felt a laugh bubble up. "You thought Sophia and I were together?" "It made sense at the time. You seemed so comfortable with each other, and when I saw you at other events, you were always together." Elena shook her head, amazed by the misunderstanding that had kept them apart for months. "So what changed your mind?" "I overheard someone at the gala mention that the beautiful Sophia Chen would be there with her sister. That's when I realized my mistake." They started meeting regularly after that. Coffee turned into lunch, which turned into long walks through the city. Cameron showed Elena parts of the city she had never seen: quiet gardens, small museums, bookshops tucked away in unlikely places. Elena found herself looking forward to their time together in a way that both thrilled and terrified her. Cameron was unlike anyone she had ever known. He was thoughtful and curious, asking her questions about her work, her dreams, her fears. He remembered details about her life that even her family forgot. One evening they were walking along the river when Cameron stopped suddenly. "Elena, I want to show you something." He led her to a small bench overlooking the water. "This is where I used to come when I was a kid. After my mom died, my foster family lived about a mile from here. When things got difficult, I would walk here and sit on this bench and dream about the future." Elena looked around at the peaceful spot. "What did you dream about?" "Having enough money so I never had to worry about food or shelter again. Having a job that mattered. And having someone to share it all with." Elena felt tears prick her eyes. "Did you ever imagine it would actually happen?" "The money and the job, yes. But the someone?" Cameron turned to look at her. "I never imagined anyone like you." Elena felt her defenses crumbling. For weeks, she had been telling herself that this was temporary, that Cameron would eventually see her clearly and realize he had made a mistake. But sitting there with him, seeing the vulnerability in his eyes, she began to believe that maybe this was real. "Cameron," she said softly, "I think I'm falling for you." His face broke into a smile that transformed his entire appearance. "Elena, I fell for you months ago. I've just been waiting for you to catch up." He kissed her then, soft and gentle, and Elena felt something inside her chest bloom like a flower opening to sunlight. For the first time in her life she felt chosen. Wanted. See. But as they walked back to her apartment hand in hand, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that this happiness was too fragile to last. In her experience, good things always came with a price. And she was terrified of what that price might be. Back at home, Elena found 3 missed calls from Sophia. When she called back, her sister's voice was strained. "Elena, we need to talk. There are rumors going around about you and Cameron Wells." Elena's stomach dropped. "What kind of rumors?" "People are saying you two have been seen together. Multiple times." Elena closed her eyes. She had known this moment would come, but she wasn't ready for it. "Sophia, I can explain." "Elena, please tell me this isn't true. Please tell me you haven't been sneaking around with the man who humiliated me." Elena sat down heavily on her couch, the happiness from her evening with Cameron already fading. "I wasn't sneaking around," she said quietly. "We've just been getting to know each other." The silence on the other end of the line was deafening. "How could you do this to me?" Sophia finally whispered. "Sophia, please. Let me explain." But the line was already dead. Elena stared at her phone, knowing that the hardest part of her journey with Cameron was just beginning. Elena didn't sleep that night. She tossed and turned, replaying the conversation with Sophia over and over in her mind. By morning, she had decided to go to her sister's apartment and try to explain in person. Sophia lived in a luxury high-rise downtown, a far cry from Elena's modest studio. When Elena knocked on the door, it took several minutes before Sophia answered. When she did, her eyes were red and puffy from crying. "What do you want?" Sophia asked, not inviting Elena inside. "I want to talk to you. To explain." "Explain what?" "How you stabbed me in the back. How you went after the one man who rejected me." Elena felt the familiar guilt wash over her. "Sophia, it wasn't like that." "Then what was it like, Elena?" "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you decided to take something that should have been mine." "Cameron was never yours," Elena said, surprising herself with her firmness. "He made his choice at the gala." Sophia's face flushed with anger. "His choice? You mean his mistake? One that you decided to take advantage of?" Elena followed Sophia into the apartment, which was decorated in all white and looked like something from a magazine. Everything was perfect, including the photos of Sophia with various celebrities and successful men lining the mantel. "Sophia, Cameron chose me. Not because he couldn't have you, but because he wanted me." Sophia laughed, but it was a harsh sound. "Elena, look at yourself. Really look at yourself. Then look at me. Do you honestly believe that any man would choose you over me if he was thinking clearly?" The words hit Elena like a slap. All her old insecurities came flooding back, drowning out Cameron's voice telling her she was enough. "Maybe you're right," Elena said quietly. Sophia's expression softened slightly, thinking she had won. "Elena, I don't want to hurt you. But you have to be realistic. Men like Cameron Wells don't end up with women like you. They end up with women like me. You're just a phase he's going through." Elena felt tears threatening. "He says he cares about me. I'm sure he does. But caring about someone and building a life with them are two different things. When the novelty wears off, when his friends start asking questions, when he has to bring you to important events, he'll realize his mistake." Elena sank onto Sophia's pristine white couch, feeling smaller than she had in months. "Elena," Sophia said, sitting beside her, "I'm trying to protect you. Do you want to know what people are saying about you too?" Elena shook her head, but Sophia continued anyway. They're saying he's having a midlife crisis. They're saying he's using you to make a point about not caring about appearances. They're calling you his charity case. Each word felt like a knife in Elena's chest. She had heard whispers like this her whole life, always wondering if people saw her as the consolation prize, the one who got picked when no one better was available. I don't want to lose you as a sister, Sophia continued, her voice gentler now. But I can't watch you get your heart broken by someone who's just playing games. Elena stood up, feeling dizzy. I need to go. Elena, wait. I have an idea. Elena turned back, hoping for some kind of resolution. Step back from Cameron. Let me talk to him, work things out. Once he realizes what he's doing, we can all go back to normal. Normal. Elena repeated. You go back to your life and I go back to mine. The way things should be. Elena stared at her sister, seeing clearly for the first time how Sophia viewed their relationship. Elena was supposed to stay in the background, supporting Sophia's dreams while having none of her own. No, Elena said quietly. What? I said no. I'm not stepping back. Sophia's face hardened. Elena, don't make me choose between you and getting what I want. You mean don't make you choose between being my sister and getting Cameron? That's not what I meant. Yes, it is. Elena moved toward the door. And the fact that you even see it as a choice tells me everything I need to know. Elena left Sophia's apartment feeling more confused than ever. By the time she got home, she had 5 missed calls from her parents. Word was spreading through their family, and Elena wasn't ready to face more judgment. When her phone rang again, she almost didn't answer. But seeing Cameron's name on the screen made her heart leap despite everything. Hi, she said, trying to keep her voice steady. Elena, what's wrong? You sound upset. The concern in his voice almost made her start crying again. I told Sophia about us. And? She's hurt. She thinks you're using me, that this is all some kind of game. Cameron was quiet for a moment. What do you think? Elena closed her eyes. I don't know what to think anymore. Elena, where are you right now? At home. Can I come over? I think we need to talk in person. 20 minutes later, Cameron was at her door. The moment Elena saw him, she started crying. He pulled her into his arms without saying a word, just holding her while she sobbed against his chest. I'm sorry, she said when she could speak again. I'm not usually such a mess. You don't have to apologize for having feelings. They sat on her small couch, and Elena told him everything Sophia had said. Cameron listened without interrupting, his jaw tightening as she repeated her sister's words. Elena, he said when she finished. Look at me. She met his eyes, seeing anger there but not directed at her. Your sister is wrong. About everything. The only game being played here is the one she's playing. But what if she's right? What if you do get tired of me? Cameron cupped her face in his hands. Elena, I have dated models, actresses, socialites. Women who were considered the most beautiful in the world. And none of them made me feel the way you do when you smile at me. Cameron, I'm not finished. I have been to parties with presidents and celebrities. I have closed deals worth hundreds of millions of dollars. But the best part of my day is when I get to talk to you. When I get to see the world through your eyes. Elena felt fresh tears starting. Your sister is scared, Cameron continued. She's scared because for the first time in her life, she's not the chosen one. And she's taking that fear out on you because it's easier than accepting that maybe she's not as irresistible as she thought. She's my sister, Elena whispered. I don't want to lose her. You won't lose her. But Elena, you can't set yourself on fire to keep other people warm. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to be loved. And you deserve to be someone's first choice. Elena looked around her small apartment, then back at Cameron. Here was this incredible man, successful beyond most people's dreams, sitting in her tiny living room and telling her she was worth choosing. What if my family never accepts this? Then we'll build our own family. But Elena, I think you might be surprised. Sometimes people just need time to adjust to a new reality. That evening, Elena's parents called. The conversation was difficult, filled with confusion and concern. Her mother worried about the age difference, her father worried about Cameron's intentions. But underneath their concerns, Elena heard something she hadn't expected. They were worried about her happiness, not just Sophia's. Elena, her mother said near the end of the call. We just want to make sure you're not getting hurt. You've always been sensitive. I'm not a child anymore, Mom. I can make my own decisions about my relationships. We know that, sweetheart. It's just that this is all so sudden. It's not sudden for me, Elena said, surprising herself with her conviction. I've been invisible my whole life. Cameron sees me. Really sees me. And for the first time, I feel like I matter to someone. There was silence on the other end of the line. You've always mattered to us, her father said quietly. I know you love me, Dad. But be honest, when was the last time you were proud of me the way you're proud of Sophia? The silence stretched longer this time. Elena, her mother said finally, we are proud of you. Maybe we haven't said it enough, but we are. Then trust me to know what's good for me. After she hung up, Elena felt lighter somehow. She had stood up for herself, for her relationship with Cameron, for her right to be happy. It felt strange and terrifying and wonderful all at once. When Cameron texted to check on her, she replied with just 3 words, I choose you too. His response came immediately, best text I've ever received. Elena smiled, but she knew the real test was still coming. Sophia wasn't going to give up easily, and Elena was about to learn just how far her sister would go to get what she wanted. 2 weeks passed in a strange kind of peace. Elena and Cameron continued seeing each other, growing closer with each day. But Elena couldn't shake the feeling that Sophia was planning something. Her sister had gone quiet, no longer calling or texting, which wasn't like her at all. Elena was preparing for the biggest presentation of her career, a proposal to the city council for expanded youth programs. She had been working on it for months, and if approved, it would bring millions in funding to help at-risk kids in the community. The night before the presentation, Elena was at the community center putting finishing touches on her materials when her phone rang. It was Sophia. Elena, I want to apologize, Sophia said, her voice soft and contrite. I've been thinking about what you said and you're right. You deserve to be happy. Elena was surprised by the change in her sister's tone. Really? Really? I was hurt and jealous and I took it out on you. That wasn't fair. Elena felt relief wash over her. Sophia, I've missed you so much. I've missed you too. Listen, I want to make it up to you. I know you have that big presentation tomorrow, so I arranged for flowers to be delivered to the council chambers. You know, to wish you luck. Elena felt tears prick her eyes. Sophia, that's so sweet. You didn't have to do that. I wanted to. You're going to be amazing tomorrow, Elena. I'm proud of you. After they hung up, Elena felt like a weight had been lifted from her shoulders. Having Sophia's support meant everything to her, and she went to bed feeling more confident about the presentation than she had in weeks. The next morning, Elena arrived at City Hall an hour early. The council chambers were impressive, with high ceilings and formal seating for about 50 people. Elena set up her presentation materials and reviewed her notes one more time. As the room began to fill with council members and community representatives, Elena noticed the beautiful flower arrangements that had been placed around the room. Sophia had outdone herself, they were elegant and professional. Elena was called to present third on the agenda. She walked to the podium feeling nervous but prepared. She had practiced this presentation dozens of times, and she believed deeply in the program she was proposing. Good morning, council members, Elena began. My name is Elena Chin, and I'm here to present a proposal for expanding youth outreach programs in our community. She clicked to her first slide and looked up at the screen behind her. Instead of her carefully prepared presentation about youth programs, there was a large photo of her and Cameron kissing by the river. The image filled the entire screen, clearly visible to everyone in the room. Elena's heart stopped. Murmurs began spreading through the audience as people recognized Cameron Wells in the photo. Elena frantically clicked her remote, but the next slide was another photo of them together, this one at the farmer's market. This isn't. Elena stammered, her face burning with embarrassment. The council chairman cleared his throat. Miss Chin, perhaps you need a moment to sort out your technical difficulties. Elena's hands were shaking as she tried to fix her presentation, but every slide had been replaced with photos of her and Cameron. Someone had hacked into her presentation and sabotaged it completely. I'm so sorry, Elena said, her voice barely audible. There seems to be a problem with my slides. Do you have backup materials? One of the council members asked impatiently. Elena did have printed materials, but she was so flustered and humiliated that she could barely think straight. The presentation she had prepared for months was ruined, and everyone in the room was whispering about the photos they had seen. Yes, I have printed copies, Elena managed to say. But as she tried to present without her slides, she stumbled over her words, lost her train of thought, and felt herself falling apart in front of the most important audience of her career. After what felt like an eternity, Elena finished her abbreviated presentation and returned to her seat, knowing she had failed completely. The council members looked unimpressed, and she could see disappointment on the faces of the community members who had been counting on her. As soon as the meeting ended, Elena gathered her things and rushed outside, fighting back tears. Her phone was buzzing with calls and texts, but she ignored them all. She just wanted to disappear. Elena. She turned to see Cameron running toward her from the parking lot. "What are you doing here?" she asked. "I got a call from someone saying there was an emergency at your presentation." "Elena, what happened? You look devastated." Elena broke down then, sobbing as she told him about the sabotage presentation. Cameron's face grew darker with each detail. "Someone hacked your presentation?" he asked. "The photos were of us, Cameron. Someone had been following us, taking pictures, and they turned my biggest professional moment into a joke." Cameron pulled her into his arms. "Elena, I'm so sorry. This is my fault." "How is this your fault?" "Because someone wanted to hurt you to get to me. Or to hurt us both." Elena pulled back to look at him. "You think someone did this on purpose?" "I know they did." "Elena, who knew about your presentation today?" Elena thought about it. "My colleagues at work, my parents, and—" Her voice trailed off as realization dawned. "And Sophia," Cameron finished grimly. "No," Elena said, shaking her head. "Sophia wouldn't do this. She called last night to apologize, to wish me luck. She even sent flowers." Cameron looked around the area near the council building. "Elena, where are the flowers?" Elena looked around too, confused. There were flowers in the chamber. Beautiful arrangements. But no delivery truck? No florist's van." Elena's stomach began to sink. "I just assumed they had been delivered earlier." Cameron pulled out his phone and made a call. After a brief conversation, he hung up and looked at Elena with fury in his eyes. There were no flower deliveries to the city hall today. None at all. Elena felt like the ground was shifting beneath her feet. That means someone else put those flowers there. Someone who had access to the building and knew exactly when you'd be presenting. Elena thought about Sophia's call the night before, how out of character it had been for her to apologize so quickly. How she had specifically mentioned the presentation and the flowers. "She set me up," Elena whispered. "Elena, I think she did more than that. I think she's been planning this for weeks." Elena's phone buzzed with a text message. It was from Sophia. "Sorry to hear about your presentation troubles. Hope you learned something about playing in leagues you don't belong in." Elena showed the message to Cameron and his jaw tightened. "That's it," he said. "I'm done playing games." "Cameron, what are you going to do?" "I'm going to end this once and for all. But first we need to fix your presentation." "When is the next council meeting?" "In 2 weeks, but Cameron, it's too late. They'll never take me seriously now." Cameron cupped her face in his hands. "Elena, listen to me. Your work matters. Those kids need those programs. And I'm not going to let your sister destroy something you've worked so hard for. How can we fix this?" Cameron smiled, but it wasn't a happy expression. "Leave that to me." "But Elena, I need you to promise me something." "What?" "Promise me you won't let Sophia make you doubt yourself again. What she did today was cruel and calculated. But it doesn't reflect on you or your worth." Elena nodded, though she still felt shaken to her core. "And Elena? After I deal with your sister, we're going to make sure the whole city knows what an amazing program you're proposing. You're going to get your funding, and those kids are going to get the help they need." As they drove away from City Hall, Elena felt a mixture of heartbreak and determination. Sophia had crossed a line, and there was no going back from this betrayal. But Cameron was right, she couldn't let her sister's sabotage destroy the work that mattered to her. The real fight was just beginning. Elena couldn't bring herself to go to work the next day. She called in sick and spent the morning in bed, replaying the disaster at City Hall over and over in her mind. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw those photos on the big screen and heard the whispers from the audience. Around noon, her colleague Sarah called. "Elena, are you okay? Word about yesterday has gotten around the office." Elena felt her stomach drop. "What are people saying?" Sarah hesitated. "They're saying you're dating Cameron Wells, and that the presentation was sabotaged because of it." "Elena, is it true?" "Which part?" "All of it." Elena closed her eyes. "Yes, it's all true." "Elena, who would do something like that to you?" Before Elena could answer, she heard shouting coming from outside her apartment building. She walked to the window and looked down to see news vans parked on the street below. "Sarah, I have to go. There are reporters outside my building." Elena hung up and peered out the window more carefully. She could see photographers with long lens cameras pointed at her building. Somehow, her relationship with Cameron had become public news. Her phone started ringing constantly, reporters, acquaintances she hadn't spoken to in years, even people from high school reaching out with questions. Elena turned off her phone and closed the curtains, feeling trapped in her own home. Around 3 o'clock there was a knock at her door. Elena looked through the peephole and saw a delivery person holding a large bouquet of flowers. "Delivery for Elena Chin," the person called. Elena opened the door cautiously, signed for the flowers and quickly closed it again. The bouquet was enormous and expensive looking. The card read, "These are real flowers from someone who really cares about you. See." Despite everything, Elena smiled for the first time in 2 days. But her smile faded when she looked out the window again and saw that the number of reporters had doubled. That evening, Elena's parents called. "Elena, we saw the news," her mother said. "Are you all right?" "I'm fine, Mom. Just embarrassed." "Sweetheart, we're coming over." "No, don't. There are reporters everywhere. I don't want you getting dragged into this." But her parents came anyway, using the building's back entrance to avoid the media. When Elena opened the door, she was surprised to see that they had brought Sophia with them. "We need to talk as a family," her father said firmly. They all sat in Elena's small living room, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. Elena couldn't even look at Sophia. "Elena," her mother began, "we want to understand what's happening. This morning there were articles in 3 different newspapers about you and Cameron Wells. They're calling you the mystery woman who captured the billionaire's heart." "It's not as dramatic as it sounds," Elena said quietly. "Then explain it to us," her father said. "Because right now it looks like you're in the middle of some kind of media circus." Elena took a deep breath and told her parents the truth about her relationship with Cameron. She explained how they had met, how he had chosen her over Sophia, and how their relationship had developed over the past few months. "And the presentation yesterday?" her mother asked. Elena's eyes flicked to Sophia, who was sitting silently in the corner. "Someone sabotaged it." "Who would do such a thing?" Elena didn't answer, but her parents followed her gaze to Sophia. "Sophia," their mother said, "do you know anything about this?" Sophia finally spoke, her voice small. "It wasn't supposed to go that far." Elena felt like she'd been punched in the stomach. "So you admit it?" "I just wanted to remind you that actions have consequences," Sophia said, not meeting Elena's eyes. "I thought if you saw how being with Cameron would affect your professional life, you'd realize it wasn't worth it." Their parents stared at Sophia in shock. "You sabotaged your sister's presentation?" their father asked, his voice dangerously quiet. "I was trying to protect her." "By humiliating her in front of the city council?" their mother snapped. Elena stood up, her hands shaking with anger. "Get out." "Elena," Sophia started. "Get out of my apartment. Now." "Sweetheart," their mother said to Elena, "maybe we should all calm down and talk about this." "No, Mom. I'm done talking." Sophia destroyed months of work because she couldn't handle the fact that for once in our lives, someone chose me over her. "I want her out of my home." Sophia stood up, tears in her eyes. "Elena, I'm sorry. I never meant for it to go this far." "Yes, you did. You wanted to ruin my presentation because you thought it would drive Cameron away. You wanted to prove that I don't deserve to be happy." "That's not true." "It is true," Elena shouted. "And you know what the worst part is? For a minute there I believed you. I actually thought maybe you were right, maybe I didn't deserve someone like Cameron." Their parents looked back and forth between their daughters, clearly struggling to process what was happening. "But I do deserve to be happy," Elena continued, her voice growing stronger. "I deserve to be loved and chosen and celebrated. And if you can't accept that, then maybe we don't have anything left to say to each other." Sophia left then sobbing. Their parents stayed for another hour, trying to mediate and make sense of what had happened. But Elena was done with family meetings and discussions. She had finally seen clearly who Sophia really was, and she couldn't pretend otherwise anymore. After her parents left, Elena sat alone in her apartment, feeling emotionally drained. Her phone, which she had turned back on, showed dozens of missed calls and messages. Most were from reporters, but several were from Cameron. She called him back. "Elena, thank God. I've been worried sick. I heard about the reporters at your building. How did the media find out about us?" Cameron was quiet for a moment. "I think I know, but you're not going to like it." "Tell me." "I had my security team do some investigating. Those photos from your presentation? They were taken by a private investigator." Elena's blood went cold. "Someone hired a private investigator to follow us?" "Yes. And the same person who hired the PI also leaked the story to the press." Elena already knew what Cameron was going to say, but she had to hear it. It was Sophia, wasn't it? Yes. Elena, I'm so sorry. Your sister has been planning this for weeks, maybe longer. Elena felt numb. She admitted it to my parents tonight. She said she was trying to protect me. Elena, where are you right now? At home. Pack a bag. You're not staying there tonight. Cameron, I can't run away from this. You're not running away. You're regrouping. Elena, this is going to get worse before it gets better. Sophia isn't done yet. Elena looked out her window at the reporters below. What do you mean? I mean that your sister has made this a public war. And if she wants a war, she's going to get one. As Elena packed a bag, she realized that her quiet, predictable life was over. Whatever happened next, there would be no going back to the way things were. But maybe that wasn't such a bad thing. Maybe it was time for Elena Chin to stop hiding in the shadows and start fighting for what she wanted. The question was she strong enough for the battle ahead? Elena spent the night at Cameron's penthouse, high above the city where the reporters couldn't reach her. She barely slept, her mind racing with everything that had happened. When she woke up, Cameron was already dressed for work, talking quietly on his phone in the kitchen. I don't care what it costs, she heard him say. I want everything. Every phone call, every email, every payment. If she hired someone to follow us, there's a paper trail. Elena wrapped a robe around herself and walked to the kitchen. Cameron ended his call and pulled her into his arms. How are you feeling? He asked. Like my life has been turned upside down. Cameron poured her a cup of coffee and sat beside her at the kitchen island. Elena, I need to tell you something. My security team found out more about what Sophia has been doing. Elena braced herself. What now? She didn't just hire the private investigator to follow us. She's been actively trying to damage your reputation for weeks. What do you mean? Cameron pulled out his phone and showed Elena a series of screenshots. She's been calling your colleagues, your clients, anyone connected to your work, spreading rumors about you. Elena stared at the evidence, feeling sick. What kind of rumors? That you're using me for money. That you can't be trusted with important projects because you're distracted by your relationship. She even called the city council members before your presentation, telling them you were having personal problems that would affect your work. Elena felt tears burning her eyes. She really wanted to destroy me. Elena, there's more. Elena looked at Cameron, seeing anger and something else in his eyes, pity. What else? She's been in contact with several gossip websites, offering to sell them more information about our relationship. Personal things. What personal things? Cameron hesitated. Details about where you live, where you work, your financial situation. She painted a picture of you as someone who was desperately trying to climb the social ladder by dating me. Elena stood up abruptly, pacing to the window. The city spread out below them, beautiful and overwhelming. I need to confront her, Elena said. Elena, I don't think that's a good idea. I can't let her keep doing this. She's not just hurting me anymore, she's hurting the kids who need those programs, the people I work with, everyone who depends on the community center. Cameron joined her at the window. Then let me handle it. No. This is between me and Sophia. Elena. Cameron, I've spent my whole life letting other people fight my battles or avoiding battles altogether. But this is different. Sophia crossed a line when she went after my work. Elena's phone rang. It was her boss from the community center. Elena, we need to talk, her boss said without preamble. Can you come in today? Elena's heart sank. Of course. Is everything okay? We'll discuss it when you get here. After Elena hung up, Cameron took her hands. Let me come with you. No. If I show up with you, it'll just make things worse. I need to handle this on my own. Elena took a cab to the community center, keeping her head down to avoid any reporters who might still be following her. When she arrived, she was surprised to see several board members waiting in the conference room along with her boss. Elena, sit down, her boss said gently. Elena took a seat, her heart pounding. We've received several phone calls over the past few days, one of the board members began. People expressing concerns about your ability to represent the organization professionally. Elena felt her stomach drop. What kind of concerns? Questions about your relationship with Cameron Wells, suggestions that you might be using your position here for personal gain, concerns about your judgment. Elena looked around the table at people she had worked with for 3 years, people who had seen her dedication firsthand. Do you believe those concerns are valid? Elena asked. Her boss sighed. Elena, we know you. We know how hard you work and how much you care about the kids we serve. But the reality is that this situation has become a distraction. So what are you saying? We think it might be best if you took some time off. Let things calm down. Elena felt like she was drowning. You're suspending me? We're giving you paid leave to deal with your personal situation. Elena stood up, her hands shaking. This is exactly what she wanted. What? Her boss asked. My sister. She did this on purpose. She wanted to ruin my career because she couldn't handle the fact that Cameron chose me. The board members exchanged uncomfortable looks. Elena, one of them said carefully, regardless of the circumstances, we have to think about what's best for the organization. Elena nodded, understanding that arguing wouldn't help. I'll clean out my desk. As Elena packed her personal items, several of her colleagues stopped by to offer support. But she could also see the questions in their eyes, the doubts that Sophia had planted. Elena was carrying her box of belongings to her car when she saw Sophia waiting by the parking meter. Elena, we need to talk. Elena kept walking. I have nothing to say to you. Sophia followed her. Please, just listen to me for 5 minutes. Elena whirled around. Listen to you? Like I listened when you sabotaged my presentation? Like I listened when you told me I didn't deserve Cameron? I made mistakes. You made choices, Sophia. You chose to hire someone to follow me. You chose to call my colleagues and spread lies about me. You chose to destroy my career because you couldn't handle being rejected. Sophia's face crumpled. I was hurt. So you decided to hurt me back? By taking away the work I love? By damaging my reputation? By trying to convince everyone that I'm some kind of gold digger? I never meant for it to go this far. Elena laughed bitterly. That's what you keep saying. But your actions tell a different story. Elena, I'm your sister. We can work through this. No, we can't. Because this isn't about Cameron anymore. This is about who you really are. And who you are is someone who would rather destroy me than see me happy. Elena got in her car, but Sophia grabbed the door. Elena, please. I'll make this right. I'll call everyone back, tell them I was lying. It's too late for that. The damage is done. Then what do you want me to do? Elena looked at her sister, this woman who had shared her childhood, her family, her life for 26 years. And she realized that she didn't know Sophia at all. I want you to leave me alone. I want you to stop trying to control my life. And I want you to figure out why you needed to destroy me to feel good about yourself. Elena drove away, leaving Sophia standing in the parking lot. As she drove through the city, her phone rang. It was Cameron. Elena, where are you? Driving around. I just got suspended from my job. Cameron was quiet for a moment. I'm sorry. This is all my fault. No, it's not. It's Sophia's fault. And maybe it's my fault for letting her get away with treating me badly for so many years. Elena, come home. We need to talk. Your place isn't my home, Cameron. Then let's find you a real home. Somewhere safe where you can start over. Elena felt tears threatening. What if starting over means starting over without you too? What do you mean? I mean, what if Sophia is right? What if being with you is going to ruin my life? Elena, don't let her win. Don't let her make you doubt what we have. But as Elena drove through the city streets, she couldn't help wondering if the price of loving Cameron Wells was higher than she could afford to pay. Elena spent the next 2 days at a small hotel, avoiding Cameron's calls and trying to figure out what to do next. She felt like she was drowning in the mess her life had become. Her career was in ruins, her relationship with her family was shattered, and the media was still following the story of the billionaire's mystery girlfriend. On the third morning, Elena was having coffee in the hotel restaurant when she saw a familiar face at a nearby table. It was Jonathan Reed, the real estate developer Sophia had mentioned dating. He approached her table with a concerned expression. You're Elena Chen, right? Sophia's sister? Elena nodded warily. I'm Jonathan Reed. I've been seeing your sister. He paused. Well, I was seeing her until yesterday. What happened yesterday? Jonathan sat down across from her. She told me the truth about what she's been doing to you. Elena felt her stomach tighten. The truth? About hiring the private investigator, sabotaging your presentation, spreading rumors about you. Elena, I had no idea she was capable of something like that. Elena stared at him. She told you all of this? She broke down and confessed everything. I think the guilt was eating her alive. Jonathan leaned forward. Elena, your sister is in a really bad place right now. She knows she went too far. I don't want to hear this, Elena said, starting to stand up. Wait, please. I'm not here to defend what she did. What I'm here to tell you is that she's planning to fix it. Elena sat back down. What do you mean? She's scheduled a press conference for this afternoon. She's going to publicly admit to everything, the sabotage, the lies, all of it. Elena felt a mix of relief and dread. Why would she do that? Because she loves you. And because I told her that what she did was unforgivable, and the only way to even begin to make amends was to tell the truth publicly. Elena's phone buzzed with a text from Cameron. Elena, please call me. Something big is happening. Elena showed Jonathan the text. Did you tell Cameron about the press conference? No, but word travels fast in our circles. Elena stood up. I have to go. She called Cameron from her hotel room. Elena, thank God. Where are you? At a hotel. Cameron, I heard about Sophia's press conference. It's happening in an hour. Elena, you should be there. I don't want to see her. I'm not saying you should forgive her or even talk to her. But you should be there to hear what she says. And more importantly, people should see you there, standing strong. Elena thought about it. Will you come with me? If you want me there, yes. I want you there. The press conference was held in the ballroom of a downtown hotel. Elena arrived with Cameron and they took seats in the back of the room. Elena was surprised by how many reporters had shown up. Sophia walked to the podium looking smaller than Elena had ever seen her. Her usual polished appearance was gone, her hair was pulled back simply, she wore minimal makeup, and her dress was conservative and understated. Thank you all for coming, Sophia began, her voice shaking slightly. I called this press conference because I need to tell the truth about what I've done to my sister, Elena Chen. Elena felt Cameron take her hand as Sophia continued. Over the past few weeks, I have engaged in a deliberate campaign to damage my sister's reputation and her relationship with Cameron Wells. I hired a private investigator to follow them and take photographs. I sabotaged Elena's presentation to the city council by hacking into her computer and replacing her slides with personal photos. I called her colleagues and clients, spreading lies about her character and her motivations. The room was completely silent except for the clicking of cameras. I did all of this because I was jealous. Because for the first time in my life, someone chose my sister over me, and I couldn't handle it. Sophia's voice broke and she paused to compose herself. Elena is the kindest, most genuine person I know. She works tirelessly to help children in our community. She has never asked for anything for herself, and she deserves every bit of happiness she has found with Cameron. Sophia looked directly into the cameras now, her voice growing stronger. I destroyed my sister's presentation because I wanted to embarrass her. I spread lies about her because I wanted to ruin her reputation. And I leaked information to the press because I wanted to make her life difficult. None of this was about protecting her or caring about her well-being. It was about my own selfishness and jealousy. Elena felt tears streaming down her face. She had never expected Sophia to be this honest, this raw. Elena, if you're watching this, I want you to know that I am deeply sorry. I know that sorry isn't enough to fix what I've done, but I hope it's a start. You are an amazing person, and you deserve all the love and success in the world. Sophia took questions from the reporters, answering each one with painful honesty. She admitted to spending thousands of dollars on the private investigator, to lying to their parents about Elena's relationship, to deliberately trying to sabotage Elena's career. As the press conference ended, Elena stood to leave but Cameron stopped her. Elena, wait. She turned to see Sophia walking toward them, her face streaked with tears. Elena, Sophia said quietly. I know you probably don't want to talk to me. You're right. I don't. I understand. I just wanted to say in person that I'm sorry. And that I'm proud of you for standing up to me. Elena looked at her sister, this person who had shaped so much of her life for better and worse. Sophia, I forgive you, Elena said quietly. But I can't trust you anymore. And I can't have you in my life right now. Sophia nodded, fresh tears falling. I understand. Maybe someday, Elena continued. But not now. Not until you figure out why you needed to hurt me to feel better about yourself. Sophia hugged Elena briefly, then walked away. Elena watched her go, feeling a mixture of sadness and relief. Are you okay? Cameron asked. I think so. As they left the hotel, Elena's phone started buzzing with calls. Her boss from the community center, colleagues, friends, even some of the city council members who had seen the news. Elena, her boss said when she answered. We saw the press conference. We owe you an apology. What does this mean for my job? It means we want you back. And it means we're going to help you get that presentation rescheduled with the city council. Elena felt a weight lift from her shoulders. Really? Really? Elena, we should have trusted you from the beginning. Over the next few hours, Elena received similar calls from others. The truth about Sophia's sabotage had changed everything. People who had doubted Elena's integrity were now reaching out to apologize and offer support. That evening, Elena and Cameron were back at his penthouse, watching the news coverage of Sophia's press conference. "How do you feel?" Cameron asked. "Exhausted. Relieved. Sad." Elena curled up next to him on the couch. "Cameron, are you sure you want to be with someone whose life is this complicated?" Cameron turned to face her fully. "Elena, your life isn't complicated. Your sister made it complicated. But that's over now. What if there are other complications? What if being with you always means living in the spotlight?" Cameron was quiet for a moment. "Elena, I can't promise that being with me will always be easy. My life comes with certain challenges. But I can promise that I will never let anyone hurt you the way Sophia did. And I can promise that you will always be my first priority." Elena felt something settle in her chest, a peace she hadn't felt in weeks. "Cameron, I love you." It was the first time she had said the words, and they hung in the air between them like a gift. "I love you too," Cameron said, pulling her closer. "I've loved you since that first night at the gala when you stood up for your sister even after what had happened." They held each other as the city lights twinkled outside the windows, both of them knowing that they had weathered their first real storm together and come out stronger. But Elena also knew that this was just the beginning. Tomorrow she would have to rebuild her reputation, repair her relationships, and figure out how to move forward. Tonight, though, she was content to be held by the man who had chosen her first, and who continued to choose her every day. 6 months later, Elena stood in the same city council chambers where her presentation had been sabotaged, but this time everything was different. The room was packed with community leaders, parents, and children who would benefit from the expanded youth program she was proposing. This time, her presentation went perfectly. Elena spoke with confidence and passion about the programs that would provide after-school tutoring, arts classes, and mentorship opportunities for at-risk youth. The slides displayed properly, showing charts and statistics that demonstrated the real need in the community. When she finished, the council voted unanimously to approve the funding. As Elena packed up her materials, Cameron appeared at her side. "How does it feel to be a hero?" he asked, grinning. "It feels good," Elena said, and meant it. "But I'm not a hero. I'm just doing my job. A job you love. A job I love." They walked out of City Hall together, and Elena was surprised to see a small crowd waiting outside. Community members who had supported her proposal were there to congratulate her, along with some of the kids who would benefit from the new programs. "Ms. Elena," called out Marcus, a 10-year-old who had been in the tutoring program for 2 years. "Does this mean we're getting the art classes?" "It means you're getting the art classes," Elena confirmed, and Marcus whooped with joy. Elena spent 20 minutes talking with the families and kids, accepting their thanks and congratulations. Cameron watched from a few steps away, his face soft with admiration. As they finally made their way to Cameron's car, Elena reflected on how much her life had changed. After Sophia's press conference, Elena had been reinstated at the community center with a promotion and a raise. The media attention, which had initially been so damaging, had actually brought more awareness to the organization's work. Elena had also been invited to speak at conferences about youth development and community outreach. She was building a reputation as someone who genuinely cared about making a difference, not someone seeking the spotlight. "Where to now?" Cameron asked as they got in the car. "Wherever you want," Elena said. "I'm just happy to be with you." Cameron smiled. "Actually, there's somewhere specific I'd like to go." He drove them to the small park by the river where they had shared their first real conversation months ago. The same bench where Cameron had told her about his childhood dreams was still there, overlooking the water. "Why here?" Elena asked as they sat down. "Because this is where I told you I'd been waiting my whole life for someone like you," Cameron said. "And because this is where I want to ask you to spend the rest of your life with me." Elena's heart stopped as Cameron reached into his jacket and pulled out a small velvet box. "Elena Chin," he said, dropping to one knee beside the bench. "You have made me happier than I ever thought possible. You've shown me what it means to be truly seen and loved for who I am, not what I have. Will you marry me?" He opened the box to reveal a stunning but simple diamond ring, elegant and classic, just like Elena preferred. Elena felt tears streaming down her face as she looked at this incredible man who had chosen her, fought for her, and loved her through everything. "Yes," she whispered, then louder, "Yes, of course, yes." Cameron slipped the ring onto her finger and stood to kiss her. As they held each other by the river, Elena felt like her life was finally beginning. "I have something else for you," Cameron said, pulling back slightly. "Cameron, the ring is more than enough. It's not a thing, it's an opportunity." Cameron's eyes were bright with excitement. "Remember how you've always talked about wanting to expand your work beyond just one community center? Elena nodded. Well, I've been working with my foundation's board, and we want to offer you a position as the Director of Youth Development. You'd oversee community programs in 12 cities across the country. Elena stared at him. Are you serious? Completely serious. You'd have a budget of $50 million and the ability to help thousands of kids. Elena, you could change lives on a scale you've never imagined. Elena felt overwhelmed by the magnitude of what he was offering. Cameron, that's incredible, but I can't accept a job just because we're engaged. You're not getting this job because we're engaged. You're getting this job because you're the most qualified person I know. The board voted unanimously to offer it to you, and half of them have never even met you. They based their decision entirely on your work and your results. Elena looked down at the ring on her finger, then back at Cameron's face. For so many years she had felt invisible, overlooked, not quite good enough. But here was proof that she had been enough all along. When do I start? She asked. Cameron laughed and spun her around. Whenever you want. We'll need to travel a lot, visiting all the different program sites. I hope you don't mind having a husband who works from wherever you are. I think I can handle that. As they walked back to the car, Elena's phone buzzed with a text message. To her surprise, it was from Sophia. Saw the news about your program getting approved. I'm proud of you. Elena showed the message to Cameron. She's been texting me once a month since the press conference. Just little things, congratulations, birthday wishes, apologies. How do you feel about that? Elena thought about it. I'm not ready to have her back in my life completely, but I don't hate her anymore. I think she's trying to become a better person. Maybe someday, Cameron said. Maybe someday. 3 months later, Elena and Cameron were married in a small ceremony in the community center where Elena had worked for so many years. Instead of a traditional wedding venue, they wanted to be surrounded by the people and place that had brought them together. The ceremony was simple and beautiful. Elena wore her mother's wedding dress, altered to fit her perfectly. Cameron wore a simple black suit, and his eyes never left Elena's face as she walked down the aisle. Elena's parents were there, beaming with pride. Her colleagues from the community center, the kids and families she had worked with, and Cameron's closest friends filled the small space with love and joy. Sophia was not there, but she had sent a beautiful flower arrangement with a note. Wishing you both every happiness. You deserve the world. Love, us. Elena had cried when she read it, but they were tears of healing, not pain. During the ceremony, Elena and Cameron exchanged vows they had written themselves. Cameron, Elena said, her voice strong and clear, you saw me when I couldn't see myself. You chose me when I didn't think I was worth choosing. You taught me that I am enough, exactly as I am. I promise to love you, support you, and choose you every day for the rest of our lives. Elena, Cameron replied, you taught me that success isn't about what you accomplish, but about who you become. You showed me what it means to love selflessly and to make a real difference in the world. I promise to be worthy of your love, to support your dreams, and to build a beautiful life with you. As they kissed as husband and wife, the room erupted in cheers and applause. Elena looked out at the faces of the people who had supported her, the kids who had benefited from her work, the family who had learned to see her clearly. For the first time in her life, Elena Chen felt truly, completely seen. That evening at their reception in Cameron's penthouse, Elena stood by the windows looking out at the city lights. Cameron came up behind her and wrapped his arms around her waist. Any regrets, Mrs. Wells? He asked. Elena smiled at the sound of her new name. None at all, Mr. Wells. What are you thinking about? Elena leaned back against him, feeling the solid warmth of his chest against her back. I'm thinking about that scared woman who almost said no when you asked her to dance. What would you tell her now? Elena turned in his arms to face him. I'd tell her that sometimes the scariest risks lead to the most beautiful rewards. I'd tell her that she's stronger than she knows and worth more than she believes. And I'd tell her that the best parts of her life are just beginning. Cameron kissed her softly. I love you, Elena Wells. I love you too. As they held each other high above the city, Elena thought about the journey that had brought them together. The pain of Sophia's betrayal, the fear of stepping into the spotlight, the challenge of learning to believe in herself, it had all been worth it to get to this moment. She was no longer the overlooked sister, the invisible woman, the one who settled for less than she deserved. She was Elena Wells, advocate for children, devoted wife, and a woman who had finally learned to see her own worth. And as she looked ahead to their future together, the children they would help, the love they would share, the life they would build, Elena knew that the best parts of her story were just beginning. The end. Image generation prompts. Opening scene prompt. A dramatic scene in an elegant ballroom during a charity gala. A beautiful African-American woman in a navy blue dress with silver buttons stands frozen, watching her stunning sister get publicly rejected by a handsome billionaire in an expensive tuxedo. Champagne glass shatters on marble floor. Shocked faces of wealthy socialites in the background. Cinematic lighting with golden ballroom chandeliers. High-end photography style with depth of field focus on the emotional devastation.